Hi, hello everybody, and welcome back to our Facebook Live with Pastel Estate. I'm Wendy, one of the owners of Pastel Estate, and I'm in a very special place, the cheese shop in the River Valley in Singapore, with a very special person, Andrew Manctolo, who is the cheese shop's manager and our special guest and the resident wine guy. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk about wine and cheese, which is very exciting. I'm a bit jittery already at the thought of it. But before we do so, I think it'd be really good if you could maybe tell people a little bit about why it is that you're affectionately referred to as the wine guy, not the cheese guy, since you're here. And as Andrew does that, please send us some likes and some hearts so we know that we do have people listening, and even better, send some comments and questions and we'll try and respond to them as we go through. So Andrew, the wine guy.
Right, wine guy. I started in the wine industry in the late 80s in the UK. For about 10, 11 years, worked for a company. Then I moved on to hotel management. I managed a boutique hotel for about 3 years. Realised I wasn't going to grow old doing that. It was a lot of hard work.
Oh, I see. You didn't want to grow old doing that. Sounds quite aging.
So moved to France, where you work a little better hours.
Yes.
And I was there for around 5 or 6 years before moving to Hong Kong and China. And then eventually 10 years ago to Singapore. But all that time I was in the wine industry. So that's why I get the wine guy.
So what's that? Almost 30 years in Asia and 30 years in China? Something? Well, you don't look old enough, obviously, but
of course, it's the wine. It's the wine.
Brilliant. And so you segued into the cheese shop from there, or is this a?
Yes, I was working with Christian Ching, who owned the cheese shop, and with the wines, and I just fancied a little bit of a change. I'm actually still stay with the wines and enjoy cheese as well. So I can see that was that.
Brilliant. So I know some people are on, but I haven't seen any comments yet. So please don't forget to send us some likes and send us some comments. But in the meantime, I think we'll get cracking. And I'm looking down because I'm looking for comments. Hello, sorry, I'll look at the camera. We'll get cracking with some of the wine. We're going to start with leaning right across there. Sorry, Andrew.
Okay.
Pastel Estate 2020 Sauvignon Blanc. This is our latest release, vintage, reasonably new release, so we're very excited about it. It's, as most of you that have joined us in the past will know already, this has a partial oak ferment, so we parcel off about 20% of the fruit and ferment that in the oak barrels, the brand new oak barrels, before we then use them for the Cabernet. And then we put it all back into the tank, stir it on the lees for about 5 months and bottle it, fresh, vibrant acidity. So not a smoked or a fumé per se, but it's just got that little bit extra complexity and roundness as a result of that oak treatment. And I think it's lovely and delicious, but we'll see what Andrew thinks. Andrew, I'll pour you some. We've also been really blessed with some fantastic accolades for our Sauvignon Blancs. We've had some International Wine Challenge gold medals, and the trophy last year, of course, for our 2019 in the Australia New Zealand Boutique Wine Show. So having recently released this one, we're quite excited to see how it goes. But let's taste the wine, talk about it, and then how you would go about pairing. Oh, So's on. So thank you for joining, and yes, sounds yum. It is indeed. It is indeed.
It is.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, so fruity on the nose.
It is.
Of course, wine expert here. I'm a bit shy about saying anything about the wine. I'll let Andrew talk. But it is very fruity on the
No,
nose.
there's a nice fruit, nice vivacious, some green fruits there. Hints of wild thyme.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's a very nice mineral.
Yes.
You've got a lot of tropical fruit, a bit of lychee.
Yeah. Just a touch there, right? I
Just
don't think
not
it's
too
too.
much.
It's not too much. It's perfection in a Sauvignon Blanc, if you ask me.
It is really very good.
And so tell us. We've got this wine, a little bit of oak ferment, and all those lovely flavours and characteristics you've just mentioned. Tell us about the cheese you've selected to pair with this, and why and how you selected
So
it.
the cheese I've selected is a Rouleau Fumé. It's a fresh goat's cheese from France that has a very subtle amount of smoked taste as it comes, and it gives it that kind of just a little bit of a lift. And it's a classic pairing, goat's cheese with Sauvignon Blanc. The acidity in the wine, the acidity in the cheese together kind of lift things along. But I just love the smokiness of the cheese and this wine together. They lift the
Oh, I can't wait. And hi, welcome. Oh, we've got all sorts. We've got Sharon from Australia. Hello. And she's already wondering which cheese would be best with the oak. Well, I think we're about to try this one with a slight. Is that a
They're
slight?
slightly smoked, so it has just a slightly smoked hint, not enough to overpower the cheese, but with the Sauvignon Blanc, it's absolutely amazing.
Well, shall we?
Please, go
Sure.
ahead.
Yum, yum. And we mustn't forget we've got another question from Alison. Thank you for joining us, Alison, about pairing cheese with white wines more than red wines. But we'll come on to that for sure.
Okay.
I want to taste
So
the
you
cheese.
need to try this. This is a lovely
Oh my
pair.
God, it's lovely food.
Mm.
I don't know how to describe cheese, but yum would be one word I'd use. It's just really subtle, that smoke. It's not,
It's just a little bit of smoke. It's it just adds a little something.
So I'll just taste that. Shall we go back to back to the wine? Cheers, guys. I can recommend. So if anybody who's watching us from Singapore, I would come down to the cheese shop later and buy some of this and a bottle of our Sauvignon Blanc. Because,
So you've got with the little bit of oakiness you've got in the wine, and that smoked cheese just kind of lifts. And
Gives
there
it a
are some
zing, doesn't it?
there are some wines that pair well with cheese. There's some cheeses that pair well with wines, and every now and again you get one that's a little bit of a match made in heaven.
Match made in heaven.
I think that's very much
that is stunning. And Alison, actually, so Alison's question, she's saying it always used to be red wine with cheese, but I've noticed chefs today suggest pairing cheese with white wines, and why has this happened? And again, which cheese matches the Sauvignon Blanc or this goat's cheese? But not, I mean, goat's cheese, as Anne was saying, often with the Sauvignon Blanc, but with this particular goat's cheese with that slightly smoked edge, and our particular Sauvignon Blanc with the slightly oak fermentation, is particularly good. But do you have a comment on? Oh, she says now we're making her hungry. Come down and get some cheese, Alison. I know you're in Singapore. Do you have a comment about the sort of trend?
The fact is that all wines will go with it. Cheeses, if you persevere, you don't need to go that far. But you have a freshness, and certain wines go very well with cheese. Certain white wines go very well with cheese. But I think all wines can go with cheese. All wines are lifted by cheese, or cheeses can be lifted by the wine. There's a reaction that goes on, and when you eat cheese is fat. That fat is in your mouth. It coats your tongue, it coats the inside of your mouth. And then the tannins that are in the wine, and there's tannins in white wine as well as red wine.
Yes.
The tannins attach themselves to the fat, which then makes everything a little bit sweeter, a little bit fruitier. You find a wine that you're not so keen on, and a cheese you're not so keen on, and put them together, and suddenly you've got an amazing thing going on.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like you should just experiment a lot.
I do.
Brilliant. That was so delicious. I don't really want to move on because it was so delicious. But, well, I guess before we move on, I was also going to ask you, sorry, I've got bits and things all over the table here, and my glasses in case I can't see some of your comments. So as you can see, this wonderful space behind us is the cheese shop, River Valley branch. And it sells lots of cheese, beautiful artisanal cheese, and it sells lots of very fine wines from all over the world, including, we're very privileged, thank you, including, of course, the Castle Estate range. But tell us, you were saying to me that, particularly during the pandemic, when restaurants were closed, you pivoted a little bit, and there's a whole sort of broader range of things happening.
We did, yes. No, initially the cheese shop was just that, it was a cheese shop, and we moved a few wines, and some crackers, and condiments, and basically all the things that you needed for a cheese platter at home. And as the pandemic sort of took hold, people still wanted to enjoy fine food, but they couldn't go out. So we found that customers were looking for everything that you could have that sort of restaurant experience at home.
Yes.
And having a selection of fine wines, fine cheeses, steaks, fish, almost
do
everything.
steaks and fish as
We
well?
have steaks and fish.
Oh
we
my
have
goodness.
burgers, pretty much everything. We've even recently started moving into heirloom tomatoes.
Wow, so a regular sort of artisanal grocery.
It is basically moving towards an artisanal grocery.
But at your core is the cheese and probably the wine.
The cheese and the wine is the cheese is the main thing.
Yes.
The wine is next on the list, and then everything else to make a great experience.
Wow, sounds yum, doesn't it? Should we go on to the Cabernet, or do you want to carry on a little bit longer?
Well, as much as I'd love to continue with the Sauvignon Blanc,
Yes, maybe we
yeah,
should.
we
move on
should
to-
maybe
yes.
just
Yes.
have a look at the. You want
Yes.
to?
Should I? Okay. So Andrew was saying to me when I turned up today to set up for this live tasting, it was quite fun for him because he tasted this 2017 Past Estate Cabernet Sauvignon when we first released it, and that was a year ago now, almost.
Yeah.
And you were saying that you think it's sort of reaching a new level of deliciousness.
It has.
Not his words.
There's slightly more elegance to it than there was, and it's definitely got a little bit. Feels a little bit more sort of full, a bit more,
Yes.
bit richer.
It's growing up a little bit.
It has.
Yes. It was always lovely and velvety, I think, but it's even softer because it's 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. We don't blend any Merlot or anything else. It's not a Bordeaux blend. This is a very pure expression of Margarita Cabernet Sauvignon Blanc, and it has got the really fine velvety tannins. With the work we do in the vineyard and our very clever winemaker Bruce, it's always very accessible. But I think because it's a single varietal, it's a little more tightly wrought when it's younger.
maybe
If that's the right word. And before we go on and taste this and hear more about it and how we approach pairing this perhaps more classical cheese and wine pairing, allow me to just remind everybody, because I'm so proud, this took a gold medal at the Decanter World Wine Awards, a gold medal at the International Wine Challenge, and Jenny Port, very well respected wine writer in Australia, recently reviewed it, tasted it, and she said 96 points. Amazing, we're so proud of that. And she said it's the quintessential Margaret River Cabernet. Thank you. So, cheers. And it's lovely that you guys have tuned in and commented. I'm hoping that some other people are going to join us and send us some hearts and likes. And some more questions for Andrew, because as you can tell, he's such an expert on all things cheese and wine. Now's your chance. Lovely aromas.
So the classic cassis, a bit of blackberry, plum. It's very
A little bit of spicy ones or something.
Yeah, there's a little. Yeah.
So, to the point that Alison was making earlier on the comments, very classic for people to think of a Cabernet Sauvignon and think, let's get some beautiful cheese, let's get a mature, hard cheese. What have you chosen?
So for this one, I've chosen the Gruyere Reserve from Switzerland.
Looks amazing.
It's got a lovely buttery, slightly earthy, bit of the salt, a bit of the protein crystals in there as well. So,
Wow.
and it just goes superbly well with the Cabernet. Once again, it's a little bit of a classic pairing, but I tasted this yesterday just to make sure I got everything right.
Lovely. Of course, we've just opened it. I mean, we might have been better off decanting it a little bit or opening it earlier.
It would definitely benefit.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, guys, didn't thought about that.
a little test I do for wines that we bring in is I like to do a 24 hours in the fridge test.
Oh.
You drink half the bottle, then you put the wine in the fridge over 24 hours.
With the lid back on.
With the lid back on.
Yeah. But you're not pumping.
Not pumping, just leaving, because obviously not everyone finishes a bottle at a time like I do.
That's very restrained.
I have to do two. And I find that way, the test is the next day, open it up and see how fresh it is. And I'm saying the Sauvignon Blanc is amazingly fresh. It hasn't lost anything. And the Cabernet Sauvignon has still got time to go because it comes out a little bit better, the next day.
Even the next day.
Bottle. So decanting would help it.
Excellent, but isn't that wonderful to hear? Gosh, I've never thought to leave half a bottle of Sauvignon. I can't. My husband's favourite is white. It's our Sauvignon Blanc.
That's what I say, just have to open more.
There is no leaving a half bottle at any point. But that's wonderful to know that it lasted overnight.
Yeah, so that's it. And I mean, so certainly not everybody drinks a whole bottle at a time. As the company said, but it does. It shows you that the wine sort of holds itself nicely.
Yeah.
And,
It's well structured.
For us, as far as selling it in Singapore is concerned, we like to feel confident that the customers, if they don't drink the wine all in one go, that they can go back to it a day or so afterwards and still
enjoy it. Wonderful.
enjoy it.
Wow. Well, look, let's try some of this incredible Reserve Gruyere. Should I just
Oh yes, go on. Hands in.
hands in? Yum. I feel like I just. Oh, a question from Sharon. Oh, she does the fridge test too, but only sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes I forget. I found out.
I think I'm smelling it like it's a piece of wine, but it's.
But wine and cheese have got a huge amount in common. You know, goats, sheep, cows, like grapes. You know, the different styles of
Oh, I see. Okay,
cheese,
yes,
the different
yes,
styles,
yes.
different styles of milk,
Yes,
different
yes.
styles of wines. And I'd say that cheese and wine are like two sides of the same coin. When you make wine, you throw away the solid and keep the liquid, and when you make cheese, you throw away the liquid and keep the solid. And terroir has a lot.
Yes, I was going to say, and presumably what the goats and the sheep,
goats are,
what they're eating.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's a continuous cycle.
Yes,
Let's just say.
and I love the way, and it sounds the same for cheese. I love the way wine responds to the environment, it expresses the environment, changes with each vintage. It's just romantic.
Yeah.
So cheese as well.
Cheese, obviously, you harvest every day, so it's not quite what you have. You harvest wine every day. But the cheese also, depending on the season, if the milk is cows are milked in the summer, then what they're eating is different than what they're eating in the spring.
That never occurred to me.
And
Of course.
also what they're eating in the winter. And very often, some places, some creameries, they don't make the same cheese all the year round, because when they bring the herd in, they feed them the dry grain.
Drier,
I think
yes.
they don't want to make the cheese with milk that comes from that, because it would affect it. So they make a different style of cheese. Mont d'Or season is
You
here.
telling me that, it sounds so obvious, but I had no idea. It didn't even occur to me. That, of course. Well, so I'm sorry. While you were telling me that, I had
No, yeah, that's it.
I scoffed a piece of this. That cheese. I don't know how to describe it again, except it's delicious. It's well, it smells as if it's going to be kind of hard and old in a good way, but actually it's quite youthful.
It is. The cheese itself has got quite a strong aroma. It is, on our scale, we consider to be quite intense. But you have intense nice taste, and you have intense nice taste. And this is an intense nice taste.
It's very elegant. So that was enjoyable. You're going to have this?
Yeah, I'm going to try it.
Really delicious. And then I'm going to try it again with our Cabernet. I hope some of you, if any of you are joining us in this and you've got a glass of wine with you, I'm talking to the screen again, sorry, and you've got a glass of wine with you, and you've got some cheese with you, share in the comments what you're pairing and what you're enjoying tonight, because that would be really interesting as well. It's this endless combination.
Well,
right?
it is. I mean, it's a journey of learning, because all the time tasting different cheeses and different wines and trying to find those sort of perfect pairings. And
Yes.
but pairing isn't really. It needs to be fun.
It needs to be fun.
You can't get too hung up on. It's got to be this wine with this cheese, or it's got to be this wine with this meat. It has to be more fun. As I say, ideally, when it comes to cheese and wine on a board, if you've got 5 cheeses, 5 wines, that'd be nice. We'd like more customers to do that. But you aren't going to keep them for long.
No.
You can't get through 5.
Well, maybe
Even I can't get through 5 of them. I don't know.
do the wine fridge test.
So you have to be a little bit lenient. And certain we try to pick a selection of cheeses that would match a wine as opposed to a selection of wine.
I see. So a sort of broader scope, so that you can enjoy a bottle of wine and various different pairing experiences with it, rather than having to be so attached to a very specific. Because you were also, Andrew was saying to me earlier when I was talking to him about this, because I find it so fascinating, you were saying that you've seen a real change in the trends around that, and when you first started out in your F&B
Well, that's
background.
right. Yes, I mean,
People were very strict,
It
not
got
tight.
to a rather ridiculous stage where it wasn't just a Sauvignon Blanc with this particular food. It was this Sauvignon Blanc from this estate, and that's all getting a little bit too strict. And so I'm more of a mind to say that if you persevere, any wine will go with any food. Some go better than others, but experiment.
And cheese, presumably the same, and wine, it's so subjective. No one can tell you what you taste. We're telling you what we can taste.
That's
and
right.
there are some broad themes that a lot of people will enjoy in these wines, and presumably the cheeses as well. But it's such a subjective experience, and I guess that's part of the fun of finding the cheese pairing as well.
It is. We often do our wine and cheese where we've got one here.
Yes, tell us about that.
On the 15th here at our River Valley branch, we'll be tasting pairing 4 cheeses with the 4 wines we have from Pastel Estates.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that.
So people in Singapore, come on down. What time is it? All day?
So that starts at 12 to 5. Yes. I'd like it to be all day, but 12 to 5.
Wonderful.
So,
And do people have to? Is it ticketed or can they just turn up?
It's just turn up and enjoy.
Wow.
And the great thing about those sort of tastings is people get to try 4 different cheeses that they may have tried before,
Yes.
and they try different wines that they've tried before, and they can work out their own combinations. You know, some
Yes.
people I match the wines to the cheeses, but you may find that you prefer this wine with this cheese, this wine
Wonderful.
with that cheese.
Wonderful. And actually, we've got a comment and another one from Sharon. Oh, and hello, Megan's joined us as well. Hi, Megan. Actually, both Megan and Sharon are suggesting the Pastel Estate Chardonnay with either a Boursin or a creamy brie. Have you heard? Should we tell people what you're planning to pair the Chardonnay with on the 15th of October, or is it a secret?
Actually, at the moment, it's
Okay, but
yes.
but a sort of a round.
But actually, no. I can tell you, it's an Italian cheese, Cassiago.
You heard it here first. It's Italian cheese.
It's an Italian cheese. It's an aged Cassiago.
Oh wow.
And so that has, it's like a sort of cross between Parmigiano and I think Manchego kind of.
Oh wow.
So it's got a nice sort of like, it's the Manchego kind of crunch and mouthfeel
Yes.
with a sort of Parmigiano taste. And I tried it, and
With the Chardonnay, because the Chardonnay, of course, is a little bit more stone fruit and a bit more with the oak.
That's right,
age
and it does work super
Wow.
well.
So Sharon, Megan, that sounded lovely. I think you're both in Margaret River, of course. So,
But,
maybe we can get hold of some from Cambrai and try it on our cheese board in the tasting room.
yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I was going to ask you something else then about. So we're talking about you're encouraging people to have fun with the pairing and experiment. Is there anything because we encourage people to join us tonight, and hopefully there'll be some more questions for you around this. Any pitfalls or any sort of not rules, because I can hear you loud and clear and there are no rules, but any sort of guidance. You were talking earlier about the proteins and the fattiness with some of the acidity. Any sort of broad ideas you'd like to share?
I mean, there are certain. Like Cabernet Sauvignon, if you have Cabernet Sauvignon with an aged blue cheese, you can very often end up with a bit of a metallic taste, which is not a great thing. A young blue cheese works well. Something like a Sanago, which is a double cream base. So that one works well. But it's an old Stilton that with this Cabernet Sauvignon is going to be sometimes get a bit of a metallic taste.
That's good to know. We shall avoid that.
I think basically you can try, and let's say that the mouthfeel from the coating with the cheese in your mouth,
Yes.
that it kind of changes. Almost all wines will change because of that.
And so that's I didn't really consult, and maybe I should have done. We had a sip of the wine first, and then we've done the cheese, and then gone back to the wine. Is that how you would normally, or would you go the other way maybe sometimes?
So me, because I'm wine first, I always like to know what the wine would taste like on its own.
Yes.
And then I move on, taste the cheese, then I taste the wine together, and then you get that comparison.
Yes.
But of course, only the first time. Because
Absolutely.
once you taste the
Once you've
second
done
one, you've got it. Unless you're going to go off and have a couple of sorbets and
Yes.
a litre of orange juice and come back 3 hours later and your mouth has got
We do have some cleansing palate biscuits here, but we've totally failed to have one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Don't need the carbs.
That was so delicious, so delicious. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? We'd love to answer them for you. Oh, actually, Sharon is also suggesting with the Chardonnay a creamy blue. Interesting.
You can,
So,
yeah.
well, of course, right. Sharon is.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that would be like Sanago. I mean,
Right.
there's a creamy blue cheese. Also, Cambozoa. It's another one. It's a triple cream base.
Wow.
That would go really nicely.
Nice. And because they're not older and it's not a Cabernet, you wouldn't have that metallic problem that we were talking about.
No, that's
before.
right.
Yeah.
They're always going to be young.
Yes.
So they
Wow.
won't bother for long. Obviously, when we do our tastings, we have to steer clear of the soft cheeses because
Yeah, for
it's
hard
not
health and
it's-
safety.
Well, it's not. It's just the fact that a creamy cheese will even we see
Yes,
the
yes.
our Rulu Fume is already starting to get a bit tired in the warmth.
Yes.
That one.
It's actually air conditioned in here,
It's
of course. It's very
air-conditioned,
comfortable. Anybody planning to come down the weekend, but it's pretty smuggy out there.
Yes.
And I guess just while we're talking about experimenting and having fun, anything really unusual that's turned out to be inspired that you'd like to share? A sort of eureka cheese and wine pairing you've discovered?
There are a couple. I mean, so there was a hard goat's cheese and Shiraz, and you kind of think that they're not really going to work together, and what you end up with is this huge lift of the fruit. It brings out the blackberry taste.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to be doing this with yours
Oh,
very
you
soon.
as well?
Yeah,
So
I'm going to.
another little preview.
You get this huge lift of the blackberry comes out, and the creaminess of the cheese jumps out too. So
Wow.
you kind of it's one of those sort of miraculous pairings
Oh, wow.
that works super well. Only other thing I was thinking of is that very often we've had people at tastings. We have a sweet wine and a blue cheese, and they don't take sweet wine and they don't take blue cheese, and you put the two together and they walk away
Suddenly they
buying
do.
a sweet wine and a blue cheese.
They take it as a compliment.
It is something that
Fantastic.
people very often.
Fantastic. Wow. So guys, we're coming up to our half-hour point. So please, if there are any more questions, please ask them, because obviously, as you can tell, Andrew's just a wealth of fascinating experience and information. Just back, I guess, while we're waiting for your questions, we'll keep an eye on the comments. Oh, Eliza, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Which hard goat cheese is this, Andrew? Oh, so she's come on a little bit late. Do you mind reminding her? Oh, no, you're talking about your goat cheese.
It is
Yes.
this goat's cheese. Yes, and I would love to tell you exactly what it was. I mean, the particular one.
Yes.
But I can't, because for the life of me, I cannot remember what that one was.
So if Eliza comes, because Eliza is
But
based in Singapore, can she come here and get hold of it?
We could,
Maybe?
we could probably, but it depends. At the time, that was a cheese that we had that we don't have now.
Oh, shame.
So-
But Eliza, so the 15th of October, come here to River Valley, noon to 5, you said?
Yep.
And there'll be not that cheese pairing necessarily, but this one is absolutely stunning with our particular Sauvignon Blanc, I must say. And you come and try them all and talk to Andrew and maybe get hold of some of the similar kind of goat cheese that goes with that. I am really sorry, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to witness on the 15th all these delicious pairings, but I might have to come back and have another one with you. I'll be in the vineyard. But for those of you joining us from Australia, of course, we do a wine pairing with cheese in Pastel Estate at the tasting room. We work with the local handmade farm cheeses. Cambrai, I don't know, have you come across
Yes,
Cambrai?
I
Do you know
have.
Cambrai?
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
So if you want to come and have a tasting, there's an optional add-on to have a little bit of a cheese pairing experience with us. We don't have Andrew's expertise on the ground with us, but we do have our lovely wines. And as Andrew said, it's just nice to experiment and taste through these different things. But I'm very excited that you're doing this event.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I guess anything else before we wrap up that you'd like to sort of share with people as regards cheese, wine, the cheese shop?
I think just have fun. Just have fun with cheese and wine. They are matches made in heaven, and
Yes.
go and do it.
Right, do it. Brilliant. Well, look, thank you again, everybody. Come to the cheese shop. We've got, how many branches have you got? 4?
We have 4.
Okay, so there are 4, but you're only doing the tasting.
We're only doing the Pastel Estate tasting here.
Yes.
It's the most central, easiest to get to.
That's River Valley. River Valley.
It's River Valley.
But you have a whole calendar of tastings with other lovely wines. and
Yeah,
juices and
we
things.
do
So
every month.
check out the
We have
website.
that. Yeah.
Come on down. It's just super cool. Or come and visit us in Pastel Estate. Have some cheese with us. We've got a couple of events coming up as well. This month we have a vertical Chardonnay tasting in the tasting room in late October. No cheese. Oh, actually, what am I saying? We are going to serve a little bit of cheese with it just to sort of round out the experience, but it's really a focus on vertical Chardonnays. And also, quite exciting, next month in Singapore, our winemaker Bruce Dukes is going to be here, and he and I are going to be doing a little bit of a masterclass with Richard Hemming at the 67 Pall Mall Club. So a few things in the calendar. We'll hopefully get some more in. And in the meantime, thank you so much. That was really
Thank
wonderful.
you.
These are beautiful. Once the camera stops running, I'm going to have a bit more of this cheese
Yeah, that's it.
and wine. Oh, Alison, another Alison. Thank you, Alison for the lead joined. She's one of our wine club members.
Okay.
Thank you. It's such an interesting session. Well, again, that's all. Thanks to Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I guess we'll finish the...
Well, let's eat the cheese.
Let's eat the cheese.
Sorry.
Right, I'm going to have to lean across the cheese to turn everything off. But thank you so much, everybody. It's always really good to talk to you. We really appreciate you tuning in. Here. Bye-bye.